Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Yasodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Janna Sodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Jasodanandana Pratijana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhupada. Ashtadarasara Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Gaura Vaishnava ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Prem Sikha Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun, Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gau Premanandi, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories some devotees, all glories, Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, this is a little unexpected. I didn't think she would go on to the next verse, because that verse that she chanted yesterday had a pretty good purport. So I prepared for the end of the chapter. So I'm just going to continue on with that. No, we're going to chant. We're going to chant this verse. They'll chant it anyway. So this is... or should we? We got a chance on it. Okay, so we'll chant it. This is chapter 6, Canto 6, chapter 18, text number 1. Sri Śukadeva Prishnis tu Patni Savitu Savitrim Vyahritim Trayim Agnihotram Pasung Somam Chatur Matsyam Maha Makan Sri Śukadeva Prishnistu Patni Savitu Savitrim Vyahritim Trayim Agnihotram Pasum Somam Chaturmasyam Mahamakan Sri Śukadeva Prishnistu Patni Savitu Savitrim Vyahritim Tvayim Agnihotram Vasum Somam Chaturmasyam Mahamakam Śrī Śukadeva Prasnistu Patni Savituhu Savitrim Vyahritim Tvayim Agnihotram Vasum Somam Chaturmasyam Mahamakan Agnihotram Vasum Somam Śrī Śukadeva Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Prishni, two, then, Patni, wife, Savituhu, of Savita, Savitrim, Savitri, Vyahritim, Vyahriti, Trayim, Trayi, Agnihotram, Agnihotra, Pasum, Pasu, Somam, Soma, Chaturmasyam, Chaturmasya, Mahamakan, the 5 Mahayagyas. Translation. Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Prishni, who was the wife of Savitra, the 5th of the 12 sons of Aditi, gave birth to 3 daughters, Savitri, Vyahriti, and Tvayi, and the sons named Agnihotra, Pashu, Soma, Chaturmasya, and the 5 Mahayagyas. So now we'll go backwards to reading. This is text 40. Itihasam imang punyam Citraketu Mahatmanaha Mahatmyam Vishnu Bhaktanam Shrutva Bandhad Vimuchyate. Translation. Citraketu was a great devotee, Mahatma. If one hears this history of Citraketu from a pure devotee, the listener also is freed from the conditional life of material existence. Purport. The historical incidents in the Puranas, such as the history of Citraketu, explained in the Bhagavad Purana, are sometimes misunderstood by outsiders or non-devotees. Therefore, Śukadeva Gosvāmī advised that the history of Citraketu be heard from a devotee. Anything about devotional service or the characteristics of the Lord and His devotees must be heard from a devotee, not from a professional reciter. This is advised herein. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu's secretary also advised that one learn the history of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from a devotee. Yaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavera Sthane. One should not hear the statements of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from professional reciters, or else they will not be effective. Quoting from the Padmarana, Śrī Caitanya Gosvāmī has strictly forbidden us to hear about the activities of the Lord and His devotees from the mouths of non-devotees. Non-Vaiṣṇava mukodgrinam putang hari katamratam shravanam naiva kartavyam sarpo chittam yathapayaha. One should not hear anything about Krishna from a non-Vaishnava. Milk touched by the lips of a serpent has poisonous effects. Similarly, talks about Krishna given by a non-Vaishnava are also poisonous. One must be a bona fide devotee, and then he can preach and impress devotional service upon his listeners. Text 41, and this is the end of the whole Citraketu Leela, Krishna. 9 chapters. 9 chapters. It's a big portion of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So here, Śukadeva Gosvāmī says, one who rises from bed early in the morning and recites this history of Citraketu controlling his words and mind and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead will return home back to Godhead without difficulty. That's a pretty nice offer there. And I thought that we could discuss about what we could learn from this whole amazing pastime with Citraketu. First of all, we could learn that, as it is said in one of the purports, that all these material relationships cause misery. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Prabhupada mentions, says that coming to the material world is like being thrown into a salt mine. If you go into a salt mine, it's just going to be salt. So the material world is like that. You come to the material world, it's to kalyam asasvatam. There's suffering, inevitable suffering. Just like I'm just getting over this canker sore, and it's right next to my teeth. So you talk and it hurts. You know, it's like it just pops up. You know, there's so many things. You know, cancer and so many diseases and so many things. It's the material world. To kalima sasatam, and Prabhupada mentions in the purport there that even someone may be living materially in a nice way, even then it's suffering, because they're becoming entangled with their material enjoyment, which means they're getting further away from the real enjoyment. You know, this material enjoyment is just the material enjoyment of the animals. You know, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is not real enjoyment, but the real enjoyment is devotional service. This is the real happiness of the soul. So even someone may be very wealthy, handsome, doing well, you know, seems very happy, but going further away from the actual happiness. So it's not real. This is actually, material happiness is actually a misery if you compare it to the actual happiness of the soul. The soul is engaging in devotional service to Krishna. This is the utmost, this is the highest pleasure. So, therefore, Prabhupada, he wanted this message of Krishna distributed widely so that people can understand this material happiness is not where it's really at. This is, it's not the real thing. The real thing, the real happiness, is in devotional service. So, that's one thing that we could learn from this. Like Citraketu, he was a king, and he had a lot of wives. And he tried to have children a lot of times. But he was still suffering. He was having so much sex, but he was still he couldn't have a child. The heir to the kingdom. You know, so he has big anxiety, huge anxiety. And then finally he has a child, and it's just like ecstasy material. material ecstasy. He was so happy that he had this child, and the wife also so happy. But that also caused so much suffering, because the other wives didn't have that child. So then they poisoned him. And then so much suffering for the king, and the queen. So much suffering. So this is material happiness. It's up and then down, up and then down, up and then down. This is the nature of material enjoyment. So then Narada Muni shows up, and he says to the dead child, "Why have you left at such an untimely time? You're going to be the king. You're causing so much pain to your parents." And the child rose from the dead. Sometimes the Christians, they say, "You ever heard of anybody rise from the dead? Jesus rose from the dead." Well, this child also rose from the dead. Rose from the dead. And he started speaking. He said, "I have had so many fathers, so many mothers. For a short time, this is my father and mother. I'll have so many other fathers and mothers. By the arrangement of Krishna, now I was in this family, now I'll go on to another." And he was preaching. I mean, just like devotees, they travel around. Preachers, they travel around. They have these PowerPoints in their preaching. This is probably the most powerful PowerPoint that's ever been made in preaching. Narada Muni brought the child back to life, and the child preached to his parents and to everyone else that was there. I mean, wow, what a powerful PowerPoint. So they were all enlightened, especially Citraketu. He was like, wow, it wasn't my child. It's just a soul in a body that I thought was my son. And he became so enlightened. It really woke him up. Not only him, but everybody just really woke everybody up to the eternality of the soul. Very powerful. So it was so powerful that Narada Muni could see that Citraketu, now he's ready to really take to Krishna consciousness. So he gave him this mantra to chant. Chanted for 7 days. Actually, it was 7 verses. 7 verses that he chanted for 7 days. And the result of that, he saw Lord Vishnu. Amazing, huh? So that's what we can learn from this, that this material world, it's a place of suffering, but if we take Krishna consciousness seriously, we can also become enlightened and get the darshan of Krishna. It is possible. Actually, it's natural for us to see Krishna because we're part of Krishna. But because we're diseased now, we don't have that darshan. We can't. Of course, we get darshan here. But it's because of this disease that we don't. So we're trying to remove this, as Prabhupada would say, cataract. You have cataracts in your eyes, you can't see, but then you remove them. So we're removing this material consciousness. And when it's completely removed, then we'll be able to also have darshan. So I was thinking another thing that we could learn from this pastime is that we have to be careful about what we say to devotees. This all happened because Citraketu, he offended Lord Shiva. Of course, some think, well, it wasn't an offense, but Parvati, she took it as an offense. So he was cursed. So we had to be careful about what we say. Be careful. We should not criticize. This is one of the symptoms of a devotee. They've gone beyond the tendency to criticize others. The nature of the conditioned soul. Because when someone criticizes someone else, then that makes them look better. So, in the Puranas, there's a story of a king who was he liked to do welfare activity. So he would give out free food to people. And the free food was being distributed, and one man got a plate, and there happened to be a bird flying over with a snake in its mouth, and a drop of poison fell from the snake's mouth onto the plate of this man who had just gotten prasad. And he ate the prasad and died. And then people were saying, don't eat that, don't eat poison it. Yeah. But then they understood somehow. But then, who gets the karma of the person that died? The king? No, the king was doing some beneficial activities, just giving out free food. It wasn't his fault. The bird? No. Nature of the bird, they eat snakes. The snake? No, snake's dead. Who gets the karma? So then Yamaraj, he heard someone criticizing very heavily the king. So Yamaraj said he gets the karma. Because he was unnecessarily criticized. It wasn't his fault. So Yamaraj also doesn't like people to criticize unnecessarily. And then there's the story of the father, the son, and an old horse. They're going into a village, and the horse was walking, and the boy and the father were walking, and they went through one village, and they said, "These foolish people! They got a horse. You ride the horse. What are you walking for? You got a horse. Ride the horse." So they thought, all right. They heard the criticism, and they went on. They're going on and go to the next village, and they're riding the horse, and people say, "It's an old horse. How can they be riding this horse? Come on, common sense, the old horse." Yeah. Okay. So then they go to the next village, and the boy is riding the horse, and the man, he's walking. And they go, "What is this? Got an old man. They got the boy. The boy he's got health. He should be walking. The old man. The old man should be riding the horse." Okay. Next village, and the old man's riding. The father's riding the horse, and the boy's walking. Why they have the boy walk? Says the boy should be riding. Yeah. So they're just like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's this nature, this criticism. But to give up this tendency of criticism, it's not easy. It's not easy. What was it, Bhaktivinoda Thakur? He said, if you see a fault in someone, look to yourself and find 10. And then look to that person whom you found fault in and look for good qualities. Another thing that we could learn from this amazing pastime is Krishna, he has interesting ways to take his devotees back home sooner than was expected. So Krishna was pleased with Citraketu. He wanted to come home, so he kind of sped it up. So therefore, this whole cursing and apparent offenses was there, and he became a demon. Krishna wanted him to come back. The kindness of Krishna, he wanted to come back sooner. So we see the kindness of Krishna. Krishna is so kind. We can't imagine the epitome of kindness is Krishna. Another thing we could learn is we got to hear the glories of a great devotee, Citraketu. And what was one of the qualities that stuck out most with Citraketu? Tolerance, yes. He was cursed. I mean, to be cursed, to be a demon, that's heavy. That's heavy. But he accepted it. Yeah, he accepted it. And he said to Parvati that, you're not the cause of my suffering. It's my past activities. What's the verse? Tattena kampang susamik samano bunjana evatmar kitambi kapa. Hridvag vididham namaste jiveti yomukti padesa doyava. This is Lord Brahma. He says, always seeking your compassion, thus tolerating all difficulties as being due to my own past activities, and always serving you with mind, body, and words. Such a devotee is eligible to inherit the kingdom of God. So whenever there's a reversal, a devotee thinks, oh, I actually deserved much worse. But Krishna is kind, so he's reduced the suffering. So another thing is that no fear. Narayana parasarve nakutaschana bibdi svarga pavarga narakesi apito yarthadars. This verse is probably it's one of the most famous verses in the Bhagavatam, and certainly in this pastime, it's the most famous verse. That the devotees, they don't have any fear, no anxiety, because wherever they go, they're just going to serve Krishna. If I'm in the body of a demon, if I'm in hell, if I'm in heaven, they're saying, what does the Prabhupada used to give the example of a typewriter? You put a typewriter in heaven, you're going to type. So this is a devotee, no anxiety, no fear. And who is this verse spoken by? Shiva, Lord Shiva. Yeah. And he expressed to Parvati, this is a devotee. This is a devotee, and you should be careful. He told Parvati, right, you should be careful about cursing such great devotees. So, fearless. The more we're able to realize that we're the soul within, the more we become free of fear. Because what does fear mean? Fear means we're afraid of the future, what might happen in the future. We want a certain thing to happen, but something else might happen, so this causes fear, anxiety. But what the Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past that sleeps, nor the future dream at all. Live in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. So this is to live in the mode of goodness is just to live in the present, not worrying about the future. Krishna's in control. Whatever Krishna arranges, it's good. Don't be in anxiety. Just be in the present, serving Krishna. And forget the past. Of course, we could also learn from the past. So many things may have happened in our lives that we could learn from. But in general, actually Prabhupada said, forget the things that you thought was enjoyment. Remember the things that inspire you to grow spiritually. That's okay. So yeah, the Citraketu, he became this demon, but he was a devotee, and he was even preaching to Indra. Come on, fight! Kill me! Come on, because Indra, he had, was it Citraketu or Vritrasura? He had knocked his club down or something. Wasn't it? The thunderbolt. So he was thinking, what is this? Who is this person? And then he's preaching to him. Also, it's like Indra couldn't figure it out. Like, who is this person? He's supposed to be a demon, but he's preaching to me, and he wants me to defeat him. And it's amazing. So he was quite surprised himself. So we also see how the Lord is very merciful. The Lord and His devotees are very merciful. So Narada Muni, as I mentioned, and Lord Vishnu could see the sincerity. So Citraketu, he chanted this mantra so sincerely, that Krishna revealed himself. So this is the mercy. But we have a mantra that's even more powerful. than that mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is the Maha Mantra. So if we also chant this mantra sincerely, then Krishna, He will help us. He'll help us get purified of all this bodily conception of life, and we'll want to serve Krishna. Now, because the impurities is there, we have other desires. We have other than to please Krishna, other than to serve Krishna. But if we hear nicely, it's like the last verse here. It's pretty amazing. This offer by Śukadeva Gosvāmī. He says, one who recites, rises from bed early in the morning and recites this history of Citraketu, controlling his words and mind, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will return home back to Godhead without difficulty. It's amazing. Now, what's the biggest part of this, the biggest challenge in this verse? Getting up early? Not quite. The biggest difficulty, the biggest challenge is the mind again, it says. He says, with mind and words controlled, controlling the mind and words, this is the difficult part. Reciting this pastime, that's not a difficult thing. Yeah. But he added in there controlling the mind, controlling the words. This is the big challenge. The wild mind. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pamati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham mani vairi vijduskram. The mind it's flickering. Yeah. It's flickering, all going here and there. It's very difficult to bring it under control. Pramati, it's mad. Balavad, it's strong. Judam, it's very determined. And to control it, more difficult to control than to control the wind. But Asangsayam mahabaho manor dunigraham chalam abhyasena tkonteya vairagyam chakriyate. That it's possible by constant practice and detachment. I was just listening to a lecture by Prabhupada this morning, and he said if someone wants to be a dancer, a professional dancer, they have to practice. They have to rehearse. They have to practice. And if they practice and practice and practice and practice, then they can become good. Yeah. But if someone thinks they can just go on stage without practicing, it's not going to work. It'll be a flop. Right? So Prabhupada said, similarly, we had to continue practicing, keep practicing. The mind will go away, keep practicing, keep on bringing it. We had to keep on bringing it. And eventually, Krishna will stay with us. Yeah. We'll be Krishna conscious, and our mind won't go off. Yeah. Something to look forward to. Our mind will be Krishna conscious. Yeah. The big challenge is turning our mind into a devotee. Yeah. This is why it's so difficult, as Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the mind is non-devotee. So we're trying to make the mind a devotee again. It was a devotee before. We had the spiritual world, they have a mind also. But it's a pure mind. Yeah. So we can also have a pure mind. Practice. Practice makes perfect, as they say. So is there any question or comment or discussion? No? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.